I get the impression from the comments when I'm speaking about stepping up your game that there isn't a great deal of interest in that. And you know, it's one of those bizarre things because we've all seen these what can you call them? All these videos that all different sorts of celebrities do, trying to give people inspiration, you know, imparting their wisdom onto the masses, and thinking that in their state of delusion that anybody who needs them to give them inspiration could actually do it. The thing is, what I have learned in life is that if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it, and you don't need motivational videos to do it, because that shit works for about 3 days, and then it's back to how you were. A motivational video or a motivational book is just going to scratch the surface of what you are. In actual fact, it's probably like taking a nail to scratch a diamond. You're not going to do it. The thing is about being motivated, it comes from the heart, and people either have it or they don't. And so, like a couple of you guys, I've said like, it's not happening here, you know, this whole thing is set in concrete and it is what it is. And I'm like, well, it doesn't have to be like that. Maybe some people's conditioning thinks that it should be like that, or it is like that. Maybe we have been conditioned very badly, and maybe we have had all of our confidence knocked out of us, and maybe we are addicts of some variety, and we depend a lot on that, and we think that that prevents us from giving up on life. You know, I've got one of my sisters, and she's been a drinker for 30 years, and she reckons without that she would have been long dead. And I'm like, well, I think that's just your guilt or your shame, trying to offset blame by proclaiming that your incessant drinking of alcohol has given rise to your continued existence. It's like people who, and she's also a smoker, and so, you know, it's that act of it, the smoking and the drinking, when it's a compulsion and an addiction. Like some old stick that lives in one of the apartments next to me. 99% of the time I see him, he's standing outside of his door smoking a cigarette, you know, roll up. And I'm like, how do people get along with that level of repetitive stuff? Standing there thinking, oh, here we go again. You know, how many times a day do I do it? 10, 20, coming to the front door, in all sorts of weathers, and then you go back in to continue with your life. It's kind of like a pit stop in hell, isn't it? Every time we smoke a cigarette. The constant reminder that you've been captured by negative energies. And when people say, oh, if it wasn't for these, I'd be too stressed out, I couldn't live and I couldn't manage. You know, you think you could. But I'm pretty sure that the anticipation and the addiction of nicotine is worse than the actual anxiety that you could feel about anything. And when you couple all of those small portions of anxiety whereby you're getting withdrawal symptoms and the anticipation of a cigarette is coming about. If you put all those together, probably constitutes like an hour or two of quite deep anticipation, anxiety, the unsettledness, the wanting, the desire for the craving to be abated. It's not even like you get anything additional from it. It's not like smoking weed or something like that. You get something additional. But with cigarettes, you don't get anything additional. You just get your homeostasis replaced for a while until the next bout comes about. And it's the same with alcoholism. And so it's a false sense of security if anybody thinks that they need those because they're beneficial, because of course they're not. And you know, we've all got our addictions, and you know, I'm participating in one of my major addictions now, and you know, it's walking or cycling the mile to this gym. Then I'm going to be working out for, you know, 3/4 of an hour, strenuous activity. And there's been many times in my life when I haven't really wanted to do it, but I have to do it because the body needs that. It craves that. My psyche needs that. And I've never managed to not do it for more than, say, like short periods of my life. I mean, I stopped going to the gym, I think it was for 3 months, 3.5 months, last year, whilst I was concentrating on the book. And this was in the heart of the winter, when I didn't want to walk or cycle up here in the pissing rain and freezing cold. And I thought to myself, well, it's winter, I'm just going to eat what I want to. I'm going to concentrate on my book. But what I did do, I cycled instead. I cycled every day, come rain and frost, on my 8-mile route. And so, and then of course, I was out walking, because I'm always doing that, foraging and seeing what's about. On the golf course here, you know, I just like come out with my ash staff, and I'm rambling and ferreting through all the bushes and the trees and getting all my hair caught and, you know, grappled up and everything. And you know, people will often walk by and see me, and if they knew how old I was, if they knew that a 60-year-old bloke is rummaging around for golf balls, they might think that's a bit weird. But I suppose if they think I'm 40-ish, maybe approaching 50, I can marginally get away with it. And because I look kind of like a youthful sort of person, because 60-year-olds don't generally lend themselves to all this, do they? And so, but yeah, I'm always doing that. And I've always done it ever since I was a kid. It's just wonderful. It's exercise. You're out in nature, you're experiencing, you're coming upon stuff. And, you know, most days I'll, you know, kill 2 proverbial birds with 1 stone by looking for fungi as well as golf balls. You know, they just go part and parcel with each other on the golf course. And so, you know, that's one of my compulsions, and it's fortunate that it's a very beneficial one for me. And anytime that I've come close to any forms of addiction which aren't healthy, I really have to address them. You know, to the point whereby I eradicate them, because I don't like being told what to do, particularly by myself when I don't want to do it, you know. And so, yeah, but you know, I say to lots of people, if we're going to stop one thing, then you most certainly have to replace it with another, because the human being, it is subject to addictions and cravings, and invariably we can't live like monks or nuns. We do need the little bit of yin and the yang. We do need a bit of a relationship with the serpent, whether it's eating stuff we know we shouldn't eat, or any of the other vices, you know. But you know, I've done them all. Don't get me wrong, people. I've done them all. But you know, I've had to bring myself back in line, and so I mean, that's the inner strength. Or it could be considered or deemed to be just another addiction, just another level of compulsion, only it's stronger than the addictions. Because look, coming to these gyms all my life, you know, I started, you know, weight training when I was 15 years old, and I've done it ever since. It's evident that I can't stop. And you know, in my early days, it was, you know, attributed to not wanting to fall victim to anybody anywhere. You know, when you're going to nightclubs and bars and doing a lot of world travel on my own, I always wanted to ensure that I was absolutely able-bodied to be able to look after myself. And that's why, you know, I worked for a black belt in full contact karate, and I always kept myself superbly fit. So if I ever did run into an occasion whereby I got whooped, then it would be for very, very good reason. It wouldn't be because I was out of shape, or I couldn't throw any punches because, you know, I was too weak and feeble and fat and all that sort of things. I couldn't live with myself. I couldn't, people. And so we could say, well, that's your addiction, mate, and it's very lucky you've got that addiction. And so, yes, it could be deemed to be that. And, you know, I've always maintained that I am a blessed being, and anybody that's really known me, has been close to me, they just know that I am a blessed being. Hello? Do you know Providence? Hey? I've got something in my pocket and I'm going to give it to you, right? It's a real special treat. I'm going to put it up here, right? I'm going to put that there. That's a very special treat from me to you. Now, do you want to come and get that? Hey? If you can cogitate what I've just done. But you see, human beings giving him something, firstly, isn't in his paradigm. Secondly, he's never seen one of those monkey nuts before, the chances are. And so, things don't enter our paradigm. Well, I'm going to be coming back here in an hour, and I'm pretty sure that'll be gone, because squirrels do have an awesome sense of smell. I would think it's equal to dogs. You know, they can smell hazelnuts in a hard shell. I don't know how that works. How does that work? Because I'm pretty sure that the actual woody shell isn't emanating any odours of food. But, and this is why I sort of conclude that, yeah, they're basic human inferences. We think that that's how it works, but I think it works, you know, much more deeply and profoundly. And I think many animals have some sort of extra special sensory system, like there is a frequency emitting from foods. Because when I throw my nuts out, and particularly to squirrels, and I've done it in the graveyard, which haven't had any of these nuts before, when they're bouncing around, all of a sudden they will get, you know, the nut could be like 9 feet away. Two squirrels having a fight up there. Yeah, they can be 9 or 10 feet away, but they'll be starting to go all around, and it's not like they're sniffing anything out. They're going in one direction, they're putting out some sort of sonar, and it's not there. They're going in another direction, it's not there, and then they'll hone in to where it is, and then they'll actually find it. And so, Right then, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, guys. For you, because they're all around here, I'm going to put these things down here. You know what I'm saying, right? Let me speak squirrel to you. Right, that should do the job. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put one on each of these posts. Now, I'll put these in my pocket because I was going to give them to Providence when I came out, or the other squirrels, but they were somewhere else. And so I think when they find them, they're going to be very happy. And here is a cashew nut, and I'm going to put that one up here. This is a double bonus, right? You have the peanut and the cashew nut. Now, in an hour's time, let's see what's going on there. There's a robin over there. He knows me. You know me, don't you, mate? Yep. They all know the Awakened Brave. So, right, talking about addictions and things like that. Yeah. Oh, one of the comments was kind of like, yeah, no, this thing's too cast in concrete, you know, to be moved. And I'm like, well, look, that's not the case, because we know that human beings are programmable matter. We know that there is no matter for a start. So there is just a program. And a program doesn't consist of anything material. And so it's just an illusion. But even if there was matter, and we are programmable matter, we know that we can change it, because when we've gone through our childhood and we have become programmed, okay, it is difficult, people. I'm not saying that it's not difficult. Give me a boy from the age of 1 to 7. That sort of rhetoric. It isn't easy, but it is possible. And so if you have suffered, you know, a lot of pain and anguish and all the rest of it as children, and you feel that you have been you've been numbed by those experiences, you have been emasculated, you've had your power taken away, because that's often what happens with people who have had abuse as youngsters. They haven't recognized their innate power because they were children at the time, and adults were abusing them, and so they formed patterns. But when we get older, we start to rationalize things, and we can say to ourselves, well, I was a kid then, I'm not a kid anymore. And I think it's possible to change that. So let me see if I can change it. The greatest obstacle is, though, our desire and the energy level. It's the energy level. Look, I had a friend of mine who drank himself to death over 10 years, and there was nothing anybody was going to say to him to prevent him from doing that. Even having 3 beautiful children didn't prevent him on any occasion from taking that extra drink. And his emasculation was in relation to a childhood experience whereby his mother was laughing at his penis. Now, when my friend was young, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7, that sort of age from what you can recall, and his mother maybe was bathing him, or at least, you know, coming in the bathroom when he's doing his own ablutions, and she was like, ah, ha, 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 and pointing to his penis, and that confused him. And from that point forward, he was always impotent, and he could very rarely raise himself to the occasion, to the point whereby it was a standing joke, and all of us friends knew about it, and whenever he and other friends would have encounters with girls, you know, whereby, you know, I don't know whether they're sharing or whether they're in the same close proximity, but, you know, he was never, you know, with them. He was mostly just an observer, because he couldn't do it. And he said that his penis was the bane of his life. And so, because of his emasculation, then he sought out something else, maybe to alleviate that trauma or that inadequacy. And so, of course, when he acquainted himself with women, he would be drunk or drinking, and that wouldn't help at all, but it would ease his mind, and so he could do other things, you know, which usually involved the bottle, not to be too crude about it, but, you know, it was the closest he was getting to a phallus. So look, the human being is a very complex creature, and many energies move us. But if we are not the variety that accept negative dispositions, and we want to do something about it, then there are people out there that have got good results. You know, people who have lost weight, and people who have got fit, and people who've done things which their parents told them that they could never achieve. All these things. And so it is possible, it is doable. We are programmed matter, but that works both ways. So what I say is, well, reprogram yourself. And this is what I did. And this is what this book that I'm promoting speaks about. It speaks about how I dissolved. The ego dissolved and spirit was born. And when spirit was born, it showed me options of another way of life. But that had to entail the will of the ego. Because the ego has to participate. The ego is the operating system for the human. The spirit can advise, but the spirit can't do. The ego does. And so it's the ego which is taking me to the gym. It's the ego which is going to be modifying my diet. It's the ego which is going to be questioning how much I drink and, you know, all the rest of the things like that. And so we need to have a new relationship with the ego. Initially, you see, the thing is with people, they don't know that there's a higher self. They don't know that there is another entity which is vastly over and above that of the operating system. And if they go through their lives not knowing that, like many people do, automaton, then they don't know that they have choice. But if something fortuitous should happen to you, like you have a catastrophic breakdown and you don't kill yourself, which many people do, but if you don't kill yourself, then you'll be presented with an option. And the option is to build back again from ground zero. And so what I did is I decided that, okay, me, which consisted of ego and spirit, are going to work together. And so initially, before my crash, it was only ego. Spirit was very, very distantly there somewhere, and I kind of had a relationship with it, but I didn't know what it was. When the ego crashed, spirit came along via incredible supernatural experiences, dreams and visions and guidance and synchronicities, and placing the exact same books what I needed to give me this incredible personal development. And, you know, which I speak about in the book. It's an incredible book. And I'm up to chapter 10 now, and I'm still astounded and riveted by it. I have only found one mistake, and that's just one word which most people wouldn't notice. But if your elocution skills and your literature skills are reasonably high, then you'd notice it. But and that's in 10 chapters, and I think it's about 100 pages so far. So I'm very, very happy with that, and how articulate it is, and how well written it is, and because I've gone over and over and over reading this book like 100 times before, and changing things around, making sure that I was absolutely categorically clear and explicit when I was explaining these esoteric things, because due to the nature of these esoteric subjects, they're very difficult to comprehend without the writing being poorly descriptive. And so one thing I learned when I was reading psychology is that Freud was an impeccable writer, and he would explain something in a way, and then he would explain it in another way. And it wasn't a demeaning or diminishing way, it was just, just serving up suggestions to help you through. And then, say, like, after the third explanation, I'll kind of like, I still don't get that. I think if you said it in another way, then, lo and behold, when I read it, he said it in the way which worked for me. And I'm like, this guy was genius. His writing was, without a doubt, superb. Whereas Jung, albeit he was genius, he came from a different place. He didn't come from the left brain like Freud did. Jung came mostly from the right brain, and so writing things down, due to the depth of these things, there was a lot of assumption, there had to be, of course, that people would have a reasonable idea of the subject matter we were speaking about. And so, you'd have to know about alchemy, you'd have to know about psychiatry and psychology and philosophy and mythology, and you'd have to be a very, very broad educated person. They call it a polymath, someone that's very, very broadly versed in many, many subjects. And so I lost my thread now. What was I speaking about? Well, I was almost at the end, and I think you may have got the picture. You may have got something out of it. I was speaking about my book and how I convey it and all that sort of things, and the spiritual development, and yeah, anyway, there's plenty more videos where this one come from, so not to worry about that. Gotta go and keep it real, people. See you later.